Hey there, this is Workbench Quagmire, back for day 2 of the free Code Camp Python certification in 100 days. Today, we're going to the Understanding Variables and Data Types section. We may be able to get through all of this. If not, we may end up needing to do that one, and then we'll see what this build a report card printer looks like. So, start with, how do you declare variables, and what are naming conventions to name variables? Let's see. In Python, variables are like a labeled box for storing and referencing data of different types. To declare variables in Python, you assign a value to an identifier with the assignment equals operator. You don't need to use special keywords like let or const in JavaScript or char in C Sharp, or char in C. In Python, you just write the name of the variable on the left, followed by the assignment operator and the value you want to assign the variable on the right. Here's an example to declare name and age. So we can see here name on the left equals single quotes John Doe, age equals 25. In the above example, variable name holds the value John Doe. This value is a string, which is a series of characters used to represent text. Strings are written with single or double quotes. For example, hello with single quotes or hello with double quotes. In the future lessons, you'll learn more about working with strings in Python. When naming variables in Python, there are some important rules you should keep in mind. Variable names can only start with letters or underscore, not numbers. Variable names can only contain alphanumeric characters, so letters and numbers and underscores. Variable names are case sensitive, so lowercase age is different than title case age is different than uppercase age. They're all considered unique. I would not do that in my code. That would be very confusing. Variable names cannot be one of Python's reserved keywords, such as if, class, def, or define. If you break any of those rules, your Python program will throw a syntax error. So starting the variable with 5, variable underscore name equals 5, invalid syntax. So now let's go over some common naming conventions for variables in Python. First, variable names should be lowercase with separate words separated by underscores. This is called snake case. So my variable name, my underscore variable underscore name equals free code camp. Next, you can use descriptive names for variables, or you should use descriptive names for variables, sorry. For example, if you want to save a user's age as a variable, user age is better than age, or an abbreviation like UA. User underscore age equals 30. This way you can easily communicate the purpose of a variable to other team members or to your future self. Facts. Go back and look at your old code and try to figure out what's going on if you haven't looked at it in a while in a large code base. Another convention is to avoid using single letter variables. This is very common in Python. You should, but should be avoided because variable names with single letter communicate no purpose or meaning. So x equals 56. What do you mean by x? What is x? This is different if you were in a loop or something similar. A variable like I, j, k, and so on are common and acceptable. Those are just used as counters normally. Also, the pound symbol and the text that follows in the example above is called a comment. You might already be familiar with comments, so let's go over them quickly and explain how they work. In Python, comments start with a pound symbol or hash, and the language ignores everything after the pound symbol on that line. So pound or hash, this is a single line comment. Multi-line comments can be created by using consecutive single-line comments. So there's an example. This is a multi-line comment. You can use comments to explain your code, leave reminders to yourself, or clarify why a line exists. Comments are especially helpful when you're learning or working in teams. However, you shouldn't use comments to explain what your variable names mean. They should be clear. Instead, the name you choose for your variable should be descriptive and communicate what they're for, and follow the other naming rules mentioned earlier to prevent syntax errors. Okay, which of the following is the correct way to declare a variable in Python? So this uses let, so it's not correct. This uses const, so it's not correct. This uses var, so it's not correct. So the last one must be correct. Which of these is not a rule for naming variables? Variable names must start with a letter or an underscore. That is true. Variable names are case insensitive. That is not true. Just to be sure, variable names cannot use Python reserved keywords. That's true. Variable names can contain letters, numbers, and underscores. So the second one is not a rule. Why should you avoid using single letter variable names? They do not communicate the purpose of the variable. That's true. Python does not allow a single letter variable name. That's not true. As we said, we could use I and J and K for counters. They increase the risk of syntax errors. It's probably true, but probably not the correct answer. They use more memory than longer variable names. That's not true. So let's see if I got these correct. I did. All right. How does the print function work? Every programming language has a way to output data to the terminal with a built-in method, function, property, or keyword. In Python, you can use print function to print data to the terminal. Let's take a closer look at the print function so you can start using it with confidence. One of the first things to do when you're learning any programming language is to write a simple hello world program. You can do that really easily in Python with the print function. To do that, you just need to put the string hello world in between the opening and closing parentheses as you call the print function. So print parenthesis, since this is a string, you need to make sure you use single or double quotes, and closing parentheses, and there's your comment, pound hello world. You will learn more about strings and functions in Python in future lessons. For now, just consider strings as a sequence of characters surrounded by either a single quote or a double quote, double quotation mark. In the print hello world example, the string hello world is an argument passed to the print function. You can also use the print function to show multiple values or arguments at once by separating them with commas. For example, print the string my favorite colors are, comma, string blue, comma, string green, comma, string red. Output my favorite colors are blue, green, and red. So notice there that the comma inserts a space between each of the arguments passed to the print function. Python automatically adds a space between each line item, separate them with commas. It's helpful when you want to print several pieces of information together. So why does the following code print all the values on the same line with spaces? Let's see, because print my favorite color, because string separate values with commas and print it, add spaces between them. That's true. Because strings are automatically joined together with no separator. That's not true. Because each call to print adds a space by default. That's not true. Because Python automatically converts all strings to uppercase in output. That's not true either. So because separating values with commas adds a space. What would the output of the following code be? Print hello, comma, world. It would be hello world because it's going to add a space. So hello world's correct. Hello world without a space is incorrect. hello world with a comma is incorrect, and hello/end world is also not correct. So the first one's correct. What is the purpose of the quotation marks around hello world in the following code? Print hello world. They define a string to be printed by the print function. True, they are used to call function name hello world. Nope. Hello world is a string. They are required only if the string contains spaces. That's not true. And they let Python know to print a variable name called hello world. That is not true. So there we go. Correctamundo. Okay. Last section here for this video. What are common data types in Python, and how do you get the type of a variable? This is pretty good information here. It's great for debugging. So often you have differences in data types where you think something is a certain data type, but it's not. And so being able to determine that is very helpful. Before working with Python variables, it's important to understand data types. A data type describes the kind of value a variable holds. For example, a number, a piece of text, or a list of items. Programming languages use data types so they know how to store and work with different kinds of information. Python is dynamically typed language like JavaScript, which means you don't need to explicitly declare variable types for variables. The language knows what data type a variable is based on what you assign to it. So here's some examples. Name equals the string John Doe. So Python knows this is a string. Age equals 25. Python knows this is an integer. This in contrast to some statically typed languages like C#, Java, or C++, where you have to declare types with variables like this. String name equals John Doe, or int age equals 25. The dynamic typing nature of Python makes coding really fast and more flexible. But it can lead to unexpected bugs because type errors are detected only when a program runs, not when the program compiles, because we don't compile Python. Since Python determines data types while your program is running, type-related mistakes are only discovered at that moment. When a program runs, Python executes your code line by line. If it reaches a line where a certain object is expected to behave in a way it's not able to, Python will stop and show an error. In contrast, some languages compile your program before it runs. Compiling means the computer checks your code in advance and prepares it to run. During this step, those languages can catch type errors before the program even starts. You don't need to know those languages yet. The important idea is simply in Python, type errors can reveal themselves during execution when a program is actually running and using your code. Compiled languages catch type errors during the compile step before the program is allowed to run. Because of this, you might not learn about a type mistake in Python until the program reaches that specific line of code while running. Here are the most common data types you'll use in Python. So an integer. This is a whole number without decimals, for example, 10 or -5. Here's the example. My integer var equals 10. Print integer, my integer var, which will return integer : 10. Float, a number with a decimal point like 4.41 or -0.4. So my float var equals 4.5. Print float, my float var will output float 4.5. String is a sequence of characters enclosed in single or double quotes marks like this, hello world. So my string var equals hello, print string, my string var will print string : hello. Boolean, a true or false type written as true or false. My Boolean var equals true, print Boolean. My Boolean var will print out Boolean : true. Set is an unordered collection of unique elements like 4, 2, and 0. So my set var 7, 5, and 8, print set. My set var will print 7 : and then the set as it, including your little squigglies. A dictionary is a collection key value pairs enclosed in curly braces like name, John Doe, age 28. So my dictionary var equals name, colon, Alice, comma, age, colon, 25. Print dictionary, my dictionary var, dictionary, colon, name, Alice, age 25. A tuple is an immutable, unchangeable, that's what that means, cannot be changed, ordered collection enclosed in brackets like 784. My tuple var equals 758. Print my tuple var, and it just prints it. A range is a sequence of numbers often used in loops, for example. So range 5 is 0 through 4, actually. My range 5, print range, my range var, range, and it prints out range 0 to 5. The 5 isn't inclusive, as we'll see as we get to using ranges. List is a ordered collection of elements that supports different data types. My list, 22, the integer, hello world, the string, 3.14, the float, and true, the Boolean. So print my list, and it prints out the list, including the brackets. None is a special value that represents the absence of a value. So none, my none var equals none, print none, none, none. This is none sometimes useful if you declare a variable, but you don't have a value yet. And you may want to check at some point if a value has been assigned. So you may say like my none var, if my none var equals none, then maybe assign a value to it. Else use the value it has. To get the data type of a variable, you can use the type function. So my var1 equals hello world, my var2 equals the integer 21. Print type my var1, it'll print out class string. Print type my var2, it'll print out class int. So here are all the data types covered in this lesson, along with their types in the terminal. So you see an integer will return class int, a float will return class float, string class string, Boolean class bool, set class set, dictionary class dict, so on and so forth. So there is a built-in isInstance function lets you check if a variable matches a specific data type. It takes in an object and the type you want to check it against, then returns a Boolean. Here are some examples. So isInstance hello world a string? It would return true. IsInstance true bool? It would return true. IsInstance 42 int? It would return true. And IsInstance John Doe an int? It would return false. So let's take the little quiz questions here. You must manually specify the data type of every variable. No, that's not true. What does it mean? So the question is, what does it mean that Python is dynamically typed? So you must manually specify the data type of every variable. That's the opposite. That's statically typed. Python does not support different data types. That's not true. We just went through a whole bunch. Python automatically determines the data type based on the assigned value. That is true. Variables in Python cannot change their data types after assignment. That is not true. You can create a my int var, and assign it an integer 25, and then reassign it. Say my int var equals the string hello world. So that is one of the sort of weaknesses of a statically or a dynamically typed language, is that you can make errors like that, and you may be expecting an int further down into your code, but it may be holding a string. What is the difference between an integer and a float data type? Integers can be stored in positive and negative numbers, while floats can only store in positive numbers. That's not true. Integers are whole numbers without decimals. That's true. While floats are numbers with decimal points. That's true. Floats take up less memory than integers. I don't think that's true. And integers can only store numbers up to 1,000, while floats have no limit. That's not true. So it's the second one. Can you check the data type? How can you check the data type of a variable in Python? By using the type function like type myvar. That's true. By checking the variable's value manually. No. By using the type of function like type of var, myvar. Nope. By converting the variable to a string and analyzing its characters. It's very wrong. So let's see. All right, we're 100% complete on understanding variables and data types. That's all I'm going to cover in this video. We have plenty of time to work through this and still spend about 5 days on each project. So believe it or not, I think it tells you up here, there are 494 steps, and I think we can get through them all in 100 days. So that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment, and I will see you tomorrow where we will cover this build a report card printer. So it looks like there's 9 steps here. So that should be interesting. I've never done this type of thing in Python on FreeCodeCamp before. So looking forward to it. See you then.